now 2014, a quieter year for me, which was much appreciated after the awful end to 2013, which I will not be bringing up again. My son was 6, going on 7, thriving in school, but we were finding it difficult fitting in both school and work, especially with no immediate family nearby to help us out. The solution, I managed to negotiate my hours down to less than full-time, an arrangement that turned out to be one of the best moves I ever made. As they say, no one lies on their deathbed wishing they'd spent more hours in the office. But music then, on with it. A few albums that I enjoyed a lot this year, but don't quite bag the top spot. First up, a quick one. Warpaint, their second self-titled album. There were mixed reviews for this one at the time. Pitchfork Media were particularly underwhelmed by it, as I recall. Me, I kind of like it. Yes, it meanders. Yes, the tunes are loose and jammy. Yes, it runs a little longer than it needs to. But when I hit play, it has that nice mix of dreamy drift and dubby post-punk playfulness that I find engaging in a distracted kind of way. Yeah, if you're going to have music as mood lighting, then these are my kind of colours. A couple of big hitters next, who I gave some serious consideration as this year's final choice. This is Swans and To Be Kind. By now, a couple of albums into their 21st century recommencement and going big. Another 2 discs, another 2-hour marathon. Typically uncompromising, emotional and spiritual brutality almost. It's very daunting music. Focused, physical, rhythmically punishing. Built on woozy kind of wavering grooves and oppressive heat haze, enveloping Gira's extended explorations of violence, of sex, of worship, of cruelty. The centerpiece is the 34-minute track Bring the Sun, Toussaint Louverture, building to a cacophonous mantra and melting away again into a feverish, ritualized collapse. An impressive record that really requires your full attention to get the best from it. Playing To Be Kind becomes a kind of ritual in itself. Space and time need to be set aside. It's almost a devotional undertaking. Or kind of maybe less portentously, it's like that kind of favourite movie, maybe a big old Kubrick or a Tarkovsky, that you only periodically rewatch out of respect or reverence for what it means and for what it stands for. It's big, it's overpowering, and it's not for the faint of heart. But if you like Swans, you already knew that. And lastly in this section, Shellac and Dude, incredible, a record which in their now painfully finite back catalogue, I rate highly. This is up there with 1000 Hertz for me, and not too far off of Action Park and those first singles. The seemingly ever-increasing gaps between Shellac albums always had you wondering if they were going to spring another Terraform on you. But Dude is lean, familiar, by turns hilarious, poignant, obtuse, and focused ultimately on 3 guys expressing themselves in their own company, navigating each other's personalities and foibles without having to think too hard about what goes where. In other words, Shellac being Shellac. Dynamics and interplay are everything. That tactile feel to every element on the soundstage. Riffs tumbling, halting, disappearing, reforming, as natural as breathing. The title track and Riding Bikes both address this kind of unspoken language of guys bonding in the pursuit of some goal, be that female company or just that kind of aimless cruising around a small town because there's nothing better to do. Compliant is a Bob Weston sung high point at The People's Microphone, a stutteringly telepathic instrumental exercise, and Surveyor resolves the whole enterprise with a spoken treatise on the value of precision and its usefulness when it comes to marking out territory, familiar or otherwise. Something that Shellac demonstrate with sure-footed ease throughout. Dude, incredible. So this year's choice, well, in any other year, Swans or Shellac might have walked it. But I had an experience involving this band that I hadn't had in years. The radio was on, 6 music playing in the kitchen. I was going about some task or another, I forget which. And I heard a song playing, which genuinely stopped me in my tracks. A proper old school bolt from the blue of the kind that I hadn't had since my John Peel listening days. That song was called Under the Pressure. And this is Lost in the Dream by the War on Drugs. Yes, Under the Pressure is one of those songs that just hits you differently, I think, if you're of a certain age. That simple piano melody and unfussy drum pattern immediately put me in mind of Pale Shelter by Tears for Fears, a band I loved dearly at the time, and one of my favourite singles of the whole kind of new wave synth pop period of the early 80s. Not that this track is a direct lift, a rip-off, a Ray Parker Jr.ing of an existing song, but the feel it channels just latches onto something of the mood of Pale Shelter, and I just love that. But that wasn't all. The texture, the luster of the guitars, and the dusty, worn-down patina of Adam Granduciel's voice triggered something else too. Another stirring from my 80s musical past, namely heartland rock, as it became known. Big names of the period: Springsteen, Petty, heck, let's not stand on ceremony, Mellencamp, Hornsby. I'll stop there. And whilst those guys themselves were borrowing from Dylan, from Neil Young, 70s Stones, Creedence, that sheen you hear on The War of Drugs is a recreation of pure 80s studio magic, the kind that dusted Born in the USA, Tunnel of Love, Full Moon Fever, Mandolin Rain. Yeah, remember 1986, that was my peak kind of Springsteen, Stephen King obsession. Yeah, when you lay out all the evidence, this song is some kind of Darren-specific honey trap designed purely to snag at my, protruding heartstrings and reel me in, hook, line, and sinker. But there's even more. For a nearly 9-minute track, the song spirals away into its closing third with a hazy collage of shoegaze, guitar, and synth drone, ladles of tremolo, throb, a golden-hued corona lighting up the song's silhouette as it shrinks into the rearview mirror. And mindful as I am that I've spent the entire of this section so far talking about one track, the rest of the record ain't half bad either. The production and sound design is spot on. The beats are sneaky krautrock drive time pulses, the keys nailing that heartland pad sound, all sleek, sinewy strings, wheezing away, shadowing the guitars. The propulsive open road glide of Red Eyes bursts wide open with some pure boss whoops from Granduciel. My notes are also crudely interrupted here by some heavy underlining beneath the words satellite and the Hooters. If you know, you know. An ocean beneath the waves pulls an EQing bait and switch 2 minutes in, like the song's rolling its sleeves up suddenly and saying, yeah, I got this, paving the way for the modulated, extended guitar solos that swamp the vocals towards its tape cut ending. Disappearing rides an echoing, shuffling beat for all of its 7 minutes, subdued, moody synth lines twisting between impressionistic guitar fumbles. And then, oh yes, a harmonica arrives at the perfect moment, and the song sighs and pulls at the listener without ever trying to resolve the momentum it's created. It is wonderful. And there are other moments. The pedal steel tug of Eyes to the Wind. The leisurely, tension-building Kraftwerk prelude to Burning. And the bittersweet, time-frozen non-resolution of Closer in reverse. Its protagonist moving on, but not really knowing where they're going. Yeah, you could point at this record and shout, Dad rock. And I ain't flinching this time. So what? Try again. How about nostalgia? No, I think there's a better word for this, but I'm saving that for a video next week maybe. For me, there's enough of everything else here to elevate this far beyond some kind of hipster revivalism of an 80s musical trope or meme. The layering, the unironic honesty in the presentation, the artful mixing of the textural and the lyrical. This record made me stop whatever it was that I was doing in 2014 and listen. And for what it's worth, that doesn't happen to me too often these days. Okay, 2014, Lost in the Dream. Is it just kind of heartland rock revival, or is there something really interesting going on here? I know how I feel about this. What do you think? As ever, let me know what your choice might be for this year. And yeah, pop it down below in the comments and we can take it further. Thanks very much for sticking with the video this far. If you've not yet subscribed, why not? And if you've enjoyed it that much, why not give it a like too? It really helps the channel and helps put it out there for other people who may not have discovered us so far. And away, yeah, I will leave you there. Please do take care, and I hope to see you again on the channel very soon. Bye for now.